Yo, Five Knuckle Gamer fans, Spencer here for another movie review. This review is a sequel to the one I saw yesterday, The Pact 2. And it was just as disappointing as the sequel to Sinister 2. In this movie, you have this, it takes place like a week later after the first movie. You have this chick that starts having visions, and she's like an illustrator, so she starts drawing out the murders that are happening again. And they bring back, the characters from the first movie and try to figure out what's going on, The killer's returned and how they're going to stop him. And what is it with horror movie sequels? Like, you take a good concept, you add good creativity to it, and then you screw it all up. This didn't piss me off as much as Sinister 2 did, but it came kind of close. I mean, the only thing I can say I really liked about this movie was Stevie from the first movie came back, but she was only there for 10 seconds total screen time, which, yeah, well utilized. But, anyways, it's just, I didn't care for the story this time around. That was, like, the biggest fault. And the scares this time were a lot cheaper. Like, you could tell, in the very beginning, there's a jump scare of some dude looking at her through the doorway, like the dude she met earlier. It's not like a complete stranger walked up on her and surprised her. She saw that dude earlier, yet 10 seconds later, she's freaking terrified that he's standing in the doorway. They play that loud, shrill sound and extreme cut. I don't know, I hate that. That's the cheapest thing ever. You can't just make a loud noise and say, there's our scare. But I digress. This time around, the mystery with the killer, it's kind of ruined. Like before, he was creepy and mysterious. Like he's either crying on the bed for some reason, hiding his face, or like exorcist crawling out of the basement. I mean, it was good, it was effective. This dude was creepy, but in this one, he's got the evil smirk on his face and just yucking it up for the camera, and it just wasn't the same. The acting was fine in this, for the most part. The killer, which I'll get to in spoiler sections, the killer, as it turns out, isn't great this time around. They have this FBI character who, even though he's in his 40s, seems too young for the role. Like, he has it's like Jesse Eisenberg's voice coming out of, this gray salt and pepper FBI agent. It was really weird. I don't know, not to dock the guy or anything, but he just didn't quite have the voice. I don't know, maybe he should have just gone brunette or something. Who knows, I wasn't behind this. I would give this movie a 2 out of 5. I'd definitely say a 2 out of 5. Because, again, there were things I liked. I liked that they brought back characters. I liked that they utilized stuff in the past. Although, I'm going to get into it in the spoiler section, it definitely brings a lot more questions. This time, it's the same exact questions I had before. Why don't the ghosts attack the killer instead of fucking around with whatever chick is in the building or house or whatever? Again, same issues as the first one, more issues brought in, but it had some good elements. I was interested in the first 30 minutes as to what's going on. It just was disappointing. It didn't piss me off, it was just disappointing. 2 out of 5. Now for the spoiler section where I bitch about every single thing in this movie. Okay, where do I start? Okay, so I'll start with the major thing that threw me off. The killer in the movie is, the chick's husband, and he says, in his evil monologue that the ghost of the killer talked to him, and that's what brought them together. And I'm like, how long did this take place? This movie takes place a week after the fact. What is he talking about? It brought us together. She lived with them. They had to have been together for at least 2 years. Are they implying that the killer is telepathic or something? I didn't get that line. And also, yeah, why don't the ghosts attack the killer in this one? Like, again, they're picking up the girl June, throwing her around the house, dragging her across the floor, but they can't, like, make the guy shoot himself. I mean, earlier in the film, they actually help her out by shutting all the doors, but you couldn't pull him down the stairs or something? What is it with these ghosts and not attacking the killer? They can attack everyone else and fuck with everyone else, but the killer. I don't get it. Also, there's odd cuts in this movie. There was this one scene where, like, they're implying that she's the killer throughout this entire thing. Like, she's always waking up with a butcher knife, and in her dreams, it's her about to stab the people. And there's one where, like, she's running out of the house but doesn't have a knife in her hand, and there was nowhere a knife was lying. But after she runs out and is standing in the street, suddenly she has the knife. I mean, what? Where did she get that? Was it in her pocket? I don't know. It's just... And another thing, it's like they're saying she's supposed to carry out the work in this movie. The killer wants her to follow in his footsteps. Then why doesn't he talk to her? She managed to convince her husband, who's a cop, within a week to start decapitating people. You're telling me the killer doesn't try the same thing with the woman? Also, he never talks. Like, okay, now all of a sudden you're telling me, okay, this guy, he talks to me. Okay, he talks now? Just, then show. Show, don't tell. Show me how he's influencing you. Show me what he's saying. Don't just tell me, oh, he convinced me to do it. What did he say to convince you, a police officer, to decapitate like 3 women? And also, while I like Stevie, I like the blind psychic girl, why was she brought back for this? I mean, she says, you know, oh, you can't see the full picture, you don't know what's going on, and then that's it. Like, I'm pretty sure the character of Stevie would at least call them and let them know, hey, here's what's actually going on. But apparently she's not going to do that. Oh well. Yeah, I'm looking at my notes here. Oh, right. There was this one scene, like, where she finds out that her mother was not actually her mother, but of course a stepmother, and she gets all pissed off, and she's like, oh, you just wanted someone to help you. Like, are you kidding me? That's not even a fair criticism of her. Like, that's a plan 20 years in the making. I'm not going to go, like, to Kansas City and adopt a kid saying, yes, in 20 years you'll be taking care of me. Like, odd plan. Oh, God. Also, where's the daughter in all of this? Like, I thought that, you know, at the end Annie got full custody of the little girl in the first movie, yet she's nowhere to be seen. And I gotta say, I'm no parent, but she wasn't married. She had no one else to look after the kid, so I can only assume the kid was left alone with a babysitter while her mother is out going against homicidal ghosts. Like, you have a family now, you have a lot to lose here. I mean, you could have easily just left the town and you would have been perfectly fine. All these friggin' notes I have of it, look at that. Oh yeah, another thing. This isn't much of a... Well, I guess it is kind of a criticism, it's weird, but when she's reading the newspaper, like June's reading a newspaper article, and it's actually a treatment for the script of the first movie, like the final events, and it's written in present tense, and it has details in it that they wouldn't print in the newspaper. Like, how the hell would you know that she held... Get the hell out of here. Get out of here. Get this guy. He keeps doing this. I don't know what's wrong with him. I lost my place. I don't know. Like, well, the first movie, led me to believe something else, that it was, the ghosts were the bad guys in this, and that the ghosts were evil. They were actually good, and warning them, although violently, of the killer in the basement. Here, they, intentionally try to red herring me. Like, in the first movie, I only assumed. I never confirmed for certain. In this one, it's, directly hints that she's the killer. She has visions only someone there would have seen. She's always waking up with a knife, yet she's not. And to be honest, it would have been interesting if she was the killer. Like, the ghost of the guy possessed her body and made her decapitate those people. That would have been somewhat interesting, but no. She's having all these visions, and she's waking up with a knife in her hand, somewhat telling me that the killer has some control over her. She's not the killer. It's cop boyfriend husband guy who, I don't know. I don't know anymore. I mean, I feel like it's going to go downhill from here. Like, I didn't expect the Pact to be good, but it was. And I expected the sequel to be decent, and it wasn't. So I think I'm going to go in with no expectations and see what happens from there. Anyways, the Pact 2, 2 out of 5.